That's a good one. How's it going, everybody? This is Team Stay True's weekly call. It is December 3rd. It sounds funny saying that. It's already December. It's hard to believe, but this year is 4 weeks away from being to an end. So what I've thought about doing and what I'm challenging you guys to do is to take a look at your goals. If you've made some yearly goals, and see where you are year to date achieving those goals, and just kind of reflect on that and take some time and think about where you are, why you're there, and if there's something you need to change up to start the new year. So start thinking about that. If you need help coming up with goals or thinking about goals, if you're a new coach and you kind of, you don't know how to gauge where you want to be or where you should be, reach out to your upline and we'll help you out with that and help you come up with some realistic goals that, are going to be attainable and help you grow your business and have success. So you all know, or you all should be aware, that we launched Insanity Max 30 this week, and so that's pretty big. I know I'm excited to get the DVDs and start that workout up. I think it'll be a lot of fun, something new, and I'm sure we'll have to moderate it. It looks like it'll be interesting to see how that'll all work for us. So excited about that. Sorry, I was distracted. My dog just cut in front of me and completely unplugged my computer. But anyway, so tonight's call is a special one. I think I know we are going to have a lot of questions or interaction on tonight's call because it's about inviting and different ideas and different ways that Dan has used and that Dan has kind of developed. And the thing I love about it is that it is simple. I think we overcomplicate it. I think we make it too difficult. And so I think that, we're going to be able to hopefully hear it, clean slate, just clear your mind of can't and clear your mind of maybe all the objections or obstacles that you created or that other people that you've talked to have helped create in your mind. And listen to Dan tonight, and I encourage everyone to interact. And if you're watching the recording of this call, please reach out to us in order to, ask us questions, and that way we can help you the best that we can. So, Ed, I'm going to turn it over to you. It's yours.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate everybody getting on the call. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and a good holiday. It was kind of a nice break last week to take that time for yourself and family and just be able to relax on a Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. Glenn had mentioned setting goals. I had a goal. I had set that I was going to read 2 books a month starting in November. Now, I think I made that goal a little bit high, knowing that if I read 1 book, it would be a good thing. And I'm proud to say that I finished this book in November, getting things done. So and I have my next book, which is upstairs. It also has to deal with getting organized and getting things done. But I want to tell a quick story that probably doesn't have nothing to do with this call, but in getting things done and how good it feels. So personal development's important, right? So the more personal development we do, the easier it's going to be to talk to people. So that's one of the tips tonight. That's a bonus tip. That's not even one of my 8. So bonus tip, you hear it every call, personal development. Make a goal to try to read a book a month. That would be my suggestion. And make it something that, you can make your judgment based on if you're struggling with something or if you just feel you need to get better at something, and maybe invite and talking to people is one of those things. So find a book on talking to people. For me, I'm a little unorganized. So getting things done was the perfect book that I needed. And I want to share a couple concepts with it tonight, but it goes based off of this concept of what's the next action. And I want to implement that into some of our conversation tonight too, because when we're talking to people, we talk without a plan. We don't have in our mind what we're really trying to accomplish as far as the goal. And a lot of times is our head is so full of things that we have so many things going in our head, so many decisions we have to make that we never just stop and think, what's the next action? So I hope to simplify that as we go through talking about the invite process, how I go about it, and just some tips and things that I think about and how I approach it, and then the tools where you can find some of these things to help you out. But then I have just a small homework assignment for you at the end of this call too. So I figured that needs to be the effective part of this call. Not only do we want to talk about it, we want to apply some of this stuff so that we go out and we have some action to it, and hopefully we will see results. But today I got my internet fixed. My internet has been broken not broken, the internet's been working, but I have a time machine for Apple, and it connects to all my devices, and my printer, my scanner hasn't been working because AT&T came in and installed UVerse, and they messed all my stuff up, and I had 2 wireless routers, and they were conflicting with each other. And I have had the Geek Squad tech plan for 2 years now, okay? And I've never called them once. You guys ever do that? You pay for something and you never call it once. You never take advantage of it. So I decided it's up in 8 days. If I'm going to renew it again, I need to at least see if it's worth it. So this guy came out, took him literally 20 minutes to fix all my stuff. What was my next action? All I needed to do was make a phone call to set this up, right? And I could have had this taken care of 6 months ago. He came, he took care of it, and the weight that was lifted, and this is all based off motivation from this book. This is why I'm telling the story. Because it was one of those open loops, those things that constantly was on my mind, that I was thinking about, that I was stressing out, that all I had to do was think about, what do I do next? And I compare that to tonight's call, because when we think about inviting people, we get stressed out because we're like, oh my gosh, I've got to talk to somebody. How do I say? What do I say? What do I do? Well, have you even thought about what do you hope that outcome to look like? First, what do you hope that outcome looks like? And then what is the next action? Sometimes we get too far ahead of ourselves. The next action might be as simple as make a phone call. And when you make that phone call, it starts to bring clarity to some of the things. And I'm going to tell you right now, inviting, there's no secret sauce. There's nothing secret to it. The key is to do it. If it scares you, it probably means you need to do it. You've heard that, right? So you're not going to hear any new concepts tonight. I'm going to reinforce some of the old ones we've talked about. I'm going to talk about a couple points, and then I want to answer any questions that you have of conversations that you guys are currently having with people. But when you start to do this and you take that step, you will feel a weight lifted because you have taken that, you've stepped out of that comfort zone and you've made the move. So let's just start right to it, because I want to make sure that we get to questions as soon as possible. So we kind of dubbed this how to talk to people. How does Dan talk to people? I wing it, let's be honest, right? Actually, I use tools. They're tools that I've heard over and over, whether it be through years before Beachbody or coming into Beachbody and having them reiterated to me. And talking to people was not always something that was easy for me. Okay, I know that sounds crazy. I was always willing to do it, but it doesn't mean that it was easy. Now it gets to the point where it's a little bit easier. So here's tip number 1. Build relationships. Don't sell. You've heard that 100 times. If you go into a conversation that you have with somebody and your intention is to sell, there's always going to be that on the tip of your mind where you're going, okay, when do I fit it in? When do I talk about Shakeology? When do I tell them about this program? Okay, how do I get them in a group? How do I do this? And you constantly stress yourself out because all you can think about are 2 Success Club points. I need 2 Success Club points. I need those Success Club points. But when you take that aside, and know that that's a benefit of obviously building a relationship, but when you take that aside and you take the individual and you get to know that person and you get to know their needs, then it is going to take all that pressure off of yourself to have to sell them something. We truly are in the business of getting to know other people. So you've probably heard me say that 100 times. Let's build relationships. One of the tools that we use for that is form. Okay, you're probably sick of hearing that too. Family, occupation, recreation, and message. You have to do those first 3 before you ever get to the message. You have to talk about family. You have to talk about where they work. You have to talk about what they like to do for fun. You have to get to know that person. And I'm going to use the example, I'll probably reference it a couple times tonight. This guy from the Geek Squad came into my home. So he was here fixing my internet. I could have just ignored him and let him be, do his thing. And it literally took him 20 minutes. So it was like probably the easiest thing in the world for him, but I'm so appreciative that he came. But by the time he left, I knew that he was a single man who lived in Jackson, who had worked at Best Buy for 13 years. And he knew somebody at Best Buy who used to do Shakeology, but never had the courage to ask them or talk to them about it. So I found out a lot of stuff about this guy in the 20 minutes that he was here, and I sent him home with 3 free samples of Shakeology because he also cut my bill in half because he was only here 20 minutes. So, But the point is, if I not had had the courage to just start talking to him and asking him questions, then the possibility of me having a connection with him would never happen. We're now friends on Facebook. I'll message him. He may respond. He may not. But hopefully he sees some of my posts. He sees some of the stuff. And I will keep following up with him. And that'll be one of the tips later too. So ask questions. And you say, well, what questions do I ask? Okay, well, we already talked about form. The other tool that you have is in our Evernote, our Team Stay True Evernote, and in the files section of Stay True. If you guys have never looked in there, there are tools in there. I have in the Stay True page, it's labeled Amber Scott's, I think it's called Amber Scott Scripts. That's in our Stay True page under the Files tab. If you go to the Evernote, it's called Step 2 Questions. And in there, you're going to find the questions that we ask people to get to know them, to get to know their goals. And the importance of having those questions is you don't have to think of these things on your own. That you'll start to get into a rhythm and understand that we are trying to find out what their goals are, what their struggles are, how their nutrition is. Have they ever done anything before as far as exercise that they actually enjoyed doing? And have they ever done anything before as far as exercise that they hated? Because when we know all of those things, it makes it so much easier for us to give them a recommendation that fits into their personal life, not into what we like to sell them. And in a post I posted in Stay True today, congratulations everybody who hit Success Club. But I wanted the reminder to you guys that Insanity Max has come out, and that's great. I love it. I don't even have it yet, and I love it. I know it's going to be a great program. It's going to be an amazing group that we start in January. For me, I think it's going to be an awesome program. Now, for a customer and a prospect that I'm talking to who has not worked out a day in their life, they're probably not going to be as excited about Insanity Max. So if I go into that conversation thinking I'm selling this person Insanity Max, it's not going to be a good conversation. I'm going into that conversation saying, I want to get to know this person. What are their needs? What are their struggles? What is it that they like to do? Because if I understand those things and I'm sensitive to those things, then I am going to be able to provide them with the program that works best for them. And when we think about them and we give them the program that they need and they stay committed to it because it's something they can do, and then they have results, that makes them want to stay. And that is an important thing. There's a call in podcast, Team Beachbody Podcast. That's another tool, and I'll reiterate some of these tools at the end. But also in the video library of your back office. If you don't know how to get in your video library, ask your coach, because that is a very useful tool where you can learn and where you can share different videos and different stories, okay? But Summit 2014, the training seminar on perfecting the invite process, building relationships and perfecting the invite process. It's Danielle Katz and Brandy Botts. I've listened to that 3 times in the last week, okay? Why? 1, it's great information. 2, the more that I hear it, the more that it sticks in here, the more that I will reference to it, okay? So we're obviously a very heavy Christian team. I'm a Christian. I love the Bible. The more I read Bible scriptures, the more they're in the front of my head, the more I can refer to them when I need them, right? Same thing holds true here when you're talking about listening to personal development, reading personal development. The more you do it, the more you see it, the more you hear it, the more that it is just fresh in your mind, and you're going to be able to recall that information quicker. Now, if you don't ever listen to anything, personal development, these calls from Summit, if you don't ever listen to National Wake Up Call, if you don't ever get on these calls and hear us say 100 times, you got to build relationships, you got to invite, here's how you do it. If you don't do these things, it won't be here. So then when you're in a conversation and you're actually talking to somebody, you're not going to have it to pull from. You're going to be going, oh boy, I'm blank. What do I do? What do I say? There's no doubt that because I say it over and over and over and over again, that's why when I'm in a conversation or on a call, a welcome call, a results call, you guys have heard me do those calls now for 3 months. The first time the call was not easy. I had to reference a lot of stuff. Well, now I just listen to the people as they talk, and some of the things that I've said in the past, because I believe them and I feel them and I also know them, it just comes out. but you have to be willing to do that and go through those growing pains. So build relationships. Tip number one. I'll try to speed it up a little, otherwise we're going to be here an hour. Underneath the building relationship part, just a few things you need to keep in mind. Focus on your customer's need. I know I did say that. Keep in mind that not everybody's going to buy a challenge pack. Okay, take the pressure off of yourself. Understand that if you sell the 21-day fix for $60, that's okay, because our ultimate goal is to get them into our groups as a customer. Did you guys know, and I don't know if this is where I meant to reference this, I'll probably reference it again later, and we talked about it last week, 71% of Beachbody coaches were customers first. So with that stat, that is a huge stat. So to try to bring a coach in who's never done Beachbody is going to be very hard. So our ultimate goal is make them a customer first. So if that means that they have to do E&E every day because they love it, great. Sell them E&E, get them and keep it real, stay true. Make them a customer who's interacting with other customers. If it's just a program they want, great. Now, it doesn't mean you don't recommend the challenge pack and tell them why, but make sure that your goal is to make them a customer. Second part of building that relationship, you must listen to them. That's what we were talking about earlier. And then C, this is an important one. If you're in a conversation with a person, and I fail at this sometimes, but I'm learning more and more to do this because it's important, put your phone away. Nobody wants to be talking to somebody who is scrolling through their news feed and looking down, looking up, looking down, looking up. You have to give all your attention to that person you're talking to. So if you're truly trying to get to know somebody and build a relationship, make sure that you put some of the distractions away so that you can better do that. So that takes care of, that encompasses tip one, build relationships. Tip two, share stories, okay? And I posted on the team page a little bit about this earlier. I share a lot of stories. My story I share. Now, a lot of people will say, well, I don't have a story. No, but there are 250,000 Beachbody coaches, and all of them have a story of some sort. And all of them have customers that have stories of some sort. This entire team has stories. The YouTube channel for Team Beachbody, again, the video library in your back office. There are numerous success stories that you can watch and that you can share with other people, and that you can hear these different stories, and then you can reference back to them. One story of a customer of mine, he was a 400-pound guy who was doing nothing, eating terrible, and all he did, I got him started on Power 90 and Shakeology. Well, he didn't do the workouts. He said his back was bothering him, so he started doing Shakeology every single day. It was the only thing he changed. And 6 months prior to that, he had gone to the doctor and did his blood work, and they said, you've got to change something or you're going to have to go on medications. And he absolutely refused to go on medication. Mind you, 400-pound guy. So he started doing Shakeology. He was down about 20 pounds. I went to the movies with him one night. He said he just came back from the doctor, and he said all the doctors and the nurses just laughed at him. And he was asking why. And they said, your numbers for a guy your size are perfect. They should not be this good. And he said, the only thing I've changed is Shakeology. And I use that story over and over and over again, because that one displays the power of just adding Shakeology into your diet. Now, he didn't go lose 100 pounds because he didn't do the workouts. He didn't do all the other stuff that required. But he got healthier because he chose to add this into his diet. So understanding that there are other stories out there, but you have to hear the stories. So you need to be on these calls. You need to get in your back office. You need to listen to these things so that you can share those stories. And the more you share those stories, the more they're going to come to mind. I think there's a lot of stay-at-home moms who have husbands are out busting their butt trying to make ends meet, and they live in small towns. First story that comes to mind is Mindy Winder. If you guys don't know who Mindy Winder is, her success story is on the YouTube channel. Get on there and watch it. She is in a Millionaires Club. She's a superstar diamond. She lives in Michigan in a small town that nobody lives in, yet she does all her business through social media. How do I know these things? Because I've heard her story over and over and over again. So when I come across somebody who shares those same qualities, I can say, yeah, you know what? One of the top Beachbody coaches started the same way. And she's now making $100,000 a year. She's in the Millionaires Club. Saying that, and I don't always say that's guaranteed for you, but it's at least a reference point to somebody that says, yeah, it's not going to always be easy. You have to put some efforts in. So share stories. Tip number 3, get face-to-face when you can. I know that this is a heavy social media business, and that is by far one of the biggest ways you're going to direct traffic to you. because it's the biggest platform out there. And Chrissy's not on this call, but I wanted to reference her a little bit. I messaged with her earlier. Her and Susan did a Black Friday. They set up a table at a shop. And I just messaged her today and I said, and she got out, the two of them with a table. They did a free raffle. They talked to people. And I said, how'd it go? And she goes, it actually went pretty well. She goes, I really enjoyed talking to people live. And I said, well, then it sounds like we need to get you out more in that setting so that you can do it more. And I guarantee the more she does that, the more comfortable she's going to be talking about it. Trust me, it's not always going to go perfect when you get face-to-face with somebody. But here's the best part about it. It's not going to go perfect. You want to know why that's good and why I think that's good? Because it allows me, it opens the door to say, you know what, Kristen, I don't know, but I'll get you a good answer. Can I have your contact information and I'll let you know? Because it is the easiest way. When I don't know the answer to something, it is the easiest way for me to make contact, to get an email, to get Facebook. And I'll say, you know what, I'll get back to you tomorrow. I'll have an answer. I have a whole team of coaches who can help us out. So it's not about knowing the answer to every question. And I want that to be clear. One of the things, if you take away nothing from this call, it's not about knowing everything. And it's understanding that we have tools that we have to reference. This isn't stuff I'm making up. All the stuff I'm saying, you've heard other coaches say. You're gonna go back and read some of the reference materials and be like, that's what Dan said. And then you're gonna realize, oh, wait a minute, Dan got it from here. So this isn't something that I'm just putting out there and going, I know it all. But I've utilized the tools that I have, and I've done them enough so that I can hear and that I can understand how to talk to people and bring up stuff. It doesn't always go perfect, but you learn each time you do it. So share stories, get face-to-face. Number 4, always make your goal, and this leads right in from the last one, always make it your goal to get contact information. I tell my new coaches when they come in, your only goal when you talk to somebody is to guarantee, if they're somebody new, is to guarantee that there's a second conversation, or at least a chance for a second conversation. So U-verse guy or AT or Geek Squad guy that came here today, my goal was not to sell him Shakeology while he was here. My goal was not even to tell him what I do. My goal was to make sure that when he left here, because after I found out he's a single guy, he would be a good dude to be on this team. So my only goal was to make sure that I could have a way to contact him again later. The only reason the Shakeology thing actually did come up is because, my cause, it was supposed to be $106 for his visit. And he says, you know what, let's cut it in half. And I'm like, sweet. I'm like, here, take these, thanks. My thank you to you. Have these free samples. That's the only reason the Shakeology came up. But it led into me saying, yeah, give me, let's be friends on Facebook so I can send you the recipes that I like to use. So he friended me on Facebook, and now I can do that. So I guaranteed that there was a second conversation. I can now reach out to him and just say, hey, man, it was great talking to you. Great getting to know you. I really appreciate what you did. So your only goal, tip number 4, is make sure you get contact information to guarantee that you have that second conversation. Because in that, if you don't know what to say, you now have time to come back to us and say, hey, I made contact with this person. I've got their info. What do I do? And then we're going to talk about it. And that's what helps us learn. Number 5, and this is from that call that I referenced earlier with Danielle Katz. Say no 2 to 3 things you personally, and you stop and think right now, what are 2 to 3 things that you are besides a Beachbody coach? And this may be a dangerous game because I don't know if I do it really well on social media, but feel free to unmute yourself. When you think of Dan Bahry outside of Beachbody coach, what do you think of? I'm gonna open it up. Go ahead. Anybody can answer. Glenn, I see you smirk. What are 3 things? And not necessarily. Well, go ahead. I'll just leave it open. Anybody?
I was just gonna say, just outgoing, a lot of fun. I know you're a dad, obviously.
There's one. I post a lot of pictures of my kids, right? So I would say I'm a Beachbody coach. I'm a dad. What are some of the things I like?
The Browns.
The Cleveland Browns. And that's on my list. and the only other thing I put on my list, because I just made it real quick, was the squat pose. Those are really the only things. My kids, the Browns, the squat pose, and then obviously fitness. And it's a little harder for me to separate job because I'm a personal trainer, so Beachbody coach and trainer kind of go hand in hand. But for a lot of people, they're not personal trainers. They do something else. You guys do something else. So you need to stop and think, what are 2 or 3 things that I do outside of fitness or that I like to talk about? Because those things are the non-threatening things that people like to talk about. No, but I can walk into a room full of guys and say, man, the Browns suck. And we're going to have a conversation for the next hour. Or I'm going to walk in and say, man, Johnny looked awesome. And we're going to have a conversation for the next hour. But there's absolutely no threat there. So in doing that, I've now started talking to people and building a camaraderie with people that has nothing to do with fitness or Beachbody. So now when I reach out to them about Beachbody, it is not going to be something where they're like, what's he trying to sell me? They still might think that, but they're not going to be as threatened by me in doing that. Does that make sense? So start to think about what are those 2 to 3 other things that you can start bringing up in conversation because you love them. And Danielle Katz's example was shoes. She loves shoes. She has 100 pair of shoes. Women like to talk about shoes. Women like shoes. So her conversations start up very easy. So think about those things. That was tip number 5. Number 6, have patience and follow up. Because sometimes, I know this was me when I first started, I always feel like that first conversation, if I don't get some kind of commitment, we're done. The biggest thing is to follow up. It may take a year. It may take 2 years. And I see that now because people I talked to when I first started are just now showing interest for multiple reasons. 1, they see that I'm consistent, that I'm still doing it. And 2, they finally have gotten to the point where they're like, okay, I need something. And I know you mentioned this, a long time ago. So what is it? Tell me about it. But in the meantime, you cannot just, you can't have one conversation and they say, no, I'm not interested. And then you just figure, okay, I'm never going to talk to them again unless they're interested. If they say no, or they say they're not interested, you have to still build that relationship by following up, checking in. How are you doing? Hey, I saw the kids were sick. I hope they're feeling better. If you see those things in your news thread, or if you see those things taking place and you see friends who are in need, just because they told you no at Beachbody doesn't mean that you're not still their friend. Okay, so make sure that you care for those people, that you do kind of reach out to them when you can and say, how are things going? And I've done that a couple of times this week because it's easy. I mean, when you're friends with 1,000 people on Facebook, it's easy to let some of those friendships slide. But the great thing about Facebook is you don't have to be best friends every day. Just be aware of what's going on in other people's world. So have patience and follow up. It takes time. And then number 7, target. This is one that I just got off that call too. They mentioned target specific customers. Like I want you to think about, and that's why you need to know what are 2 to 3 things that you do. Think about the customer that you would like to bring in and focus there first. Not that you don't still focus on everybody, but for me, I'm starting to define a little bit more what I am looking for. Obviously I do a boot camp that is the majority of it is women, but I do want to start targeting dads. I want to start targeting men, dads who do want to be home with their kids, who do want to be inspired and get away from what they're doing, or just tired, or maybe just making ends meet, or they just need that. They want to have a good marriage. They want to have a good family, and they know that their job and what they do is part of that. So I now need to start looking out there at my friends list and say, okay, who fits that mold? And start focusing on those relationships. Now, that doesn't mean like I said, I don't ignore the rest of them. But when you do that, you're going to have more in common with the people that you're talking to. So the conversation and the invite process is going to start to become more natural. So start there. And then number 8, and I'm sure I've skipped over a lot of these notes, and if I did, I'll add them in the comments too. But make the focus to create a custom. Oh, okay, we already talked about that one. So make a focus. Tip number 8: make it your focus to make them a customer first. 71% of coaches come from being a customer first. So those are my 8 tips. I'm going to run down a list real quick if you haven't written them down, the tools that I mentioned. And you can always watch this call back. And then we'll open it up. And if you guys have questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. I know Beth and Glenn answer. Or if you're dealing with a specific customer right now, let's talk it out. So some of the tools we talked about was the Team Beachbody YouTube channel, your video library. One of the tools I use, and we actually referenced it, I think, on a call 2 weeks ago, is the Customer to Coach Guide. If you guys don't know where that is, you go to News and Training in your back office. Go to your back office, News and Training. You'll have a drop-down menu, Coach Training Academy. From there, you'll click on References. And then when you click that References, it's going to give you a whole list of forms and documents and tools and information you could read for weeks and learn new things, and read it again and learn more things. But Customer to Coach Guide, because a lot of us are dealing with our challenge groups. We're dealing with customers who we brought into this process, but we want to transition them to our team. So the scripts in there are great. They're great. You just have to personalize them. And as you listen to them, you're going to notice those, along with our Google Doc that we have, they're very similar. But you still have to take the initiative to personalize that. And the only way you can do that is by listening to the person you're talking to and know that person. We won't always be able to personalize that. And if you do ask us to personalize it, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, what are their goals? What's their family? What do they do for a living? What's their recreation? I'm going to ask you all the questions that you should have been asking them anyway. And then I'm going to give a response, because I need to get to know that person if I'm going to help you personalize it. So you're going to have to do that process anyway. So ask questions so that you can personalize it. How to overcome objections. It's in that same reference area. But a lot of us deal with, it's too expensive. I don't have time. All these other objections that you can name. There's a handful of them, 5 or 6 that everybody uses, right? How to handle objections. There's a form back there that gives you the tools to add to your conversation. Such as Tommy migrants. I don't know all about that. All I know is it's helped me lose 30 pounds and taken away my cravings and give me a ton of energy. I love it. The podcast I mentioned is the other tool. If you don't have the podcast, download it. You can also get those videos in your back office in the video library. But it's nice to have the podcast. I got to admit, everywhere I'm driving, I'm listening to a podcast. And then I want you guys to write down these next 5 questions, or next 5 statements, because this is one of the biggest tools that I use to personalize a conversation. And I got this from Summit, from Trina Gray, and that's going to be part of our homework. So this is, write down these 5 things. These are steps to a better conversation. Okay, step 1. When you're talking, this is the invite process. You're creating an invite that you want to reach out to somebody and talk to them. Number 1. Why did you think of them? Why did you think of that person? So were they a personal trainer? Hey, I know you're a personal trainer. I thought this might be for you. Hey, I know you're a stay-at-home mom and you were looking to make a little extra cash. This might be for you. Why did you think of them? Hey, I was thinking about you the other day. We were talking. Number 2, what is in it for them? And actually, I'm gonna cruise through these questions, and then I'm gonna have the homework. I'm not gonna give much more examples because your homework is gonna consist of the examples. Number 3, what do you love? What do you personally, what do you love about it that relates to them? What do you love about it that relates to them? Number 4, how can you help them overcome their barriers? Now, that doesn't mean you're going to say in that, hey, I'm going to help you overcome the cost. You're going to think in your mind before you send that invite, you know the person, you know what their biggest barrier is going to be. Is it money? Is it time? So you're going to combat it in your invite so that when it comes up, it's already been referenced. And then number 5, show them amazing service by knowing them. And the way Trina Gray explains this is after you do this invite, you end the invite with a PS. I saw the pictures of the kids or vacation. It looked like you guys had a blast. It's awesome. So they know that you are up to date with what they're doing. I personally use the words, by the way. By the way, I saw that you guys just got back from vacation. Looks like you guys had a blast. That's so fun. I can't wait. We're going to Tennessee in March or whatever. But since I've come home from Summit, those are the 5 steps, the 5 things that I use in every invite that I send. And some of those things will look very familiar, but if you think of those 5 things, it's going to direct the way that you invite that person. And it's going to make it all very personal. So that leads me to your homework. Because we're not only going to just talk about these things, we're going to apply. And I'm just asking to apply 1. So your homework is to find the Summit 2014 training, and it's called Amazing Customer Experiences that Lead to Star Diamond Success. And the reason I want you to listen to that one is because that's one, if you look at the title, a lot of you would avoid because it says Star Diamond Success. Be like, oh, I'm not Star Diamond yet. The first half hour is Hillary Kelly, and she gives some decent advice. I like Hillary Kelly. But the second half hour is Trina Gray. I love Trina Gray. And she's going to talk about those 5 things that I just gave you, and she's going to give you good examples on how to use them. Now, you can get that, you can listen to that either on the podcast, or you can find it in your back office in your video library. So if you don't know how to get to those 2 things, you need to ask your coach. Once you listen to that call, I want you to send me 2 or 3 takeaways that you got from the call. Private message me. And better believe I'm taking notes who's on this call. Huh? And who's not. So some of you may have already listened to that call. If you have, I recommend you listen to it again. And then I've listened to 3 or 4 of those things over and over again. But you guys, the information at Summit last year was unbelievable. It's really good stuff. So listen to all of those things. So that does it. That's 8 tips. That's all the tools. That's your homework. Who's got questions?
I muted everybody, so if you have a question, feel free to unmute your line. And it can be about anything, and it doesn't have to necessarily be from the 8 tips that Dan just gave us. If you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, experiences that you want to talk about or hash through, we can do that. So,
or struggles that you're having.
Right. Everyone's doing great.
I get to go to bed early.
So Success Club 5 already locked down this month, and you're inviting 2 people a day. And
I do have 2.
Anyone should help them with anything.
What was the name of that podcast? Star Diamond Sources, or
amazing customer experiences that lead to Star Diamond Success. And the title of it will be Summit 2014 Training. And then the subtitle will be Amazing Customer Experiences that Lead to Star Diamond Success.
I thought I could find it quick, but I haven't, so I better write it down.
But what they focus on is creating an exceptional customer experience, which is what we're trying to do. And when you do that, it creates these stories that we can share with other people who we're trying to bring into this. That makes the invite process a whole lot easier, because if we can share that somebody just lost 10 pounds in our accountability group last month, and that's something we don't do enough. I'm going to tell you guys right now, we should be all over our Facebook, Instagram pages saying, congratulations to so-and-so who lost 10 pounds and 12 inches last month. That's pretty amazing. I mean, Heather, your mom, 12 pounds and 14 inches, and she's doing hip-hop abs now. She's like, yeah, and she's loving it. I mean, you got your mom out there doing hip-hop abs, and she's off 12 pounds and 14 inches. That's a great story.
That's awesome.
Take advantage of that story. That woman is so inspirational, you know, and she's in this new group. I'm excited for this new group.
That's great.
I think it's going to be a good one.
Heather, did I miss your post? Did you post your own success story? Did I miss that?
No, you did not miss that. I did not do it yet.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I will.
Well,
Eventually.
And here's the thing: your mom shared her before and after too in that group. So that's a picture we should all have.
Yeah.
We got to make sure she wants it shared outside of that group. So.
Right. Absolutely. You always ask permission. But she looked great, so she'll say yes.
So Dan, in step 3, you mentioned getting face-to-face.
Yeah.
As often as you can.
Yep.
I mean, would you say you could do that in a conference call, like a Zoom call as well, or would you say, oh, do you mean in person?
No, I think this is face-to-face too. Yeah, I mean, what I love about Zoom is it takes away some of the excuses when people say they can't get together, because, I mean, we can get together at 9:30 on any night with one-on-one. You know, I did a call with some of James' coaches or prospects the other day, about a week ago, and it was great. I mean, it adds something. It adds something to the invite process when you can be face-to-face with that person. Getting a message through Facebook is not bad, and it's great as an introduction, but at some point, I would even consider a phone call face-to-face, because you're actually talking to that person. You're able, because here's what inviting is for me. It's taking a little bit of knowledge that I have, but relating it all back to the person's. I was on a call the other night, and her biggest thing was she always goes, she's afraid to get into something right now because she always goes hardcore, for a few weeks, and then she goes down to nothing. She dies off. Okay, so what did I hear in that? I didn't hear, oh yeah, she's it's not for her. She's hardcore. She's extreme. She's not going to do it. I heard you can get good workouts anywhere. You can get good nutrition anywhere. The one thing that people are always missing is what we provide, and that's accountability. I said, the reason that you go hardcore and you fall off is because it's hard to do by yourself. And when you go 3 straight weeks of just busting your butt and there's nobody there saying, great job, let's do this, or even challenging you, say, hey, I got mine done. Are you getting yours done? When you don't have that and it's not consistent, you are going to fall off. Nobody can go full go beyond 3 weeks, right? I mean, you have to have the accountability piece. You have to have the community, and that's what we have. And I've seen it work month after month for years now, where people come into this process and they're like, I don't know if this online accountability worked, but then they have this great experience and they love it, and some of their best friends have come out of it. One of the stories I always share, Vicki Caswell and Bernadette from one of my first challenge groups, Matthiasen. The two of them, I made them accountability partners. They didn't know each other when the whole thing started. One lives in Cleveland, one lives in Akron. Now they're best friends. They meet up every week for lunch. They actually keep each other accountable without me. They are doing this because they found a connection within a group, and that's what kept them accountable to it. And it's changed their lives. They didn't have each other, which they met in one of these groups, they would have both fallen off and gone back to their old ways. So the importance, the product is not, when we're talking about inviting, the product is not Shakeology. The product is not Insanity Max. Those are tools. The product is you. The product is us. The product is our groups. The product is our team. What we're trying to build. That's what the product is. And people need to know when they come into this that it's about something greater than just working out. It's about building that family and building that accountability so that they can make this life change, because when they do that, the confidence that comes with it is unbelievable. You know, I've been there. I've been overweight and depressed and disappointed in myself. I put it in a post last night or 2 nights ago, whatever it was. And I meant every word of it. When I was at a place where I didn't want to be, and there are a lot of people out there who are at that place right now, I needed something. And I needed people around me who believed in me and who encouraged me as I went through. There was nothing better than showing up at church on a Sunday and people being like, whoa, what happened to you? Wow, I started doing this workout thing. I lost weight. And it wasn't about the weight. It was the fact that people recognize the hard work. So having people around you who are doing that on a consistent basis, that's what the product is. People need this. They need us. They need you guys. That's what the product is. So don't forget that. And I even talked with James about that a little bit. I sell the groups more than I sell the products.
Yeah.
You know, once there's an emotional connection there, then yeah, I recommend a challenge pack because I think it's the best way to start. But now the recommendation comes from a place that money's not the issue. It's, do you want the results that we're talking about? Go ahead, Beth. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Number 9. You need to add that number. That speed set number 9. Everyone should write that down. Sell the groups.
Yeah. Adding it right now to my list. Number 9. Sell the groups.
That's another reason why, because you'll have people ask you, well, why should I order it through you and not through Unicorn, through beachbody.com? And it's like, well, because, and when you my customers, I'm going to make sure that you're not going to buy pile and it's going to collect dust on your shelf. I'm going to engage with you, put you in a group where you have like-minded people, and we're going to check in and we're going to give you tips and encouragement along the way.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, one of the biggest things that hit me, and I think this was at Summit too, this past Summit, I think it was Trina Gray again. She said, I can't remember who it was, it might have been Trina. She said, you have points, you have your points. So you've sold all this stuff. You have Success Club points, you have your points. Now you have people. And there's a lot of pressure there because we now have to invest into these people we've brought into this business, because our job is to encourage them and change their lives, help them change their lives. We can't do it for them, but we can do everything possible to help encourage them that way. So if we don't take that serious, then they are going to fall off the wayside, and it's going to be hard, and that's not a great customer experience. And we've gotten better at that.
I think another good podcast to listen to is the Overcoming Objections.
Mm-hmm.
With Tommy Migrant in there and Mike. I forget Mike's last name, but anyway, they talk about
Mike Ryan.
Emotion versus selling. Mike describes and talks about, he references a book in there, which that's why I had the headband on this morning. I had to hold my earbuds in my ears because they'll fall out. But anyway, but no, I was listening to that podcast, and he referenced a book in there, and it mentioned something about how the parts of the brain and all this and that, but it was really good information to kind of clear up or get a clearer understanding as to, how you're talking to people and they've thrown it, how you should kind of answer it and connect with them emotionally.
Yeah.
Connecting with them just about the product or about a product.
Yeah. Was the book Switch?
No, it was something about why. It was something about a why. So,
yeah. I was going to say Switch kind of focuses on that same topic. I love that book. That was a good book if you need a good book to read. Switch by Heath. It's on my phone. Chip and Heath. I'll give you guys the name here in a second. Yeah, just a quick recap of the 5-step process. And I know we talk about it all the time. I'm going to keep it very short, very simple. But I want to make it simple. Like, you invite somebody in, and that's what we talked about on this call, all those things. You invite somebody in. They say, yes, I'm interested. They don't say, yes, I'm in. They say, yes, I'm interested. Step 2 is interview them. Ask them those questions. Find out the goals. Find out those things. They send you back an email. They've now given you all the emotional part of why they need to do this. And that allows you to reference back to it in step 3 and make a recommendation and say, here, watch this video. I think the 21-day fix would be great. Watch this video. I'll check back with you. They watch it. Yeah, it looks great. Awesome. It sounds like you're ready to get started. Step 4. And then step 5 is, step 4, you finish that recommendation. And step 5, you walk them through the buying process if they're ready. And we have Coach Mobile app that is an easy way to do that. And we have little videos that we can make. You have the capability to make a video and send it to them if you need to. If you're not good with videos, we'll help you. But that's the 5-step process in its simplest form. Invite them in, get to know them, give them a recommendation, help them buy. I know that was only 4, but there's a 3 and 4 kind of mix for me.
But, and then again, having that information from step 2 is the key to.
Absolute key. Step 2 is the most important part. So when you go in that reference materials that I led you to with those other documents, you'll see a PDF for the 5-step process and a video and a role play. Step 2 is the most important. Once you get through step 2, you've now created a connection. Oops.
You try to develop a little bit of a relationship before the invite, or is it really after the invite? I guess you kind of have somewhat of a relationship maybe, but.
Yeah, it depends. Go ahead.
There's a lot of people that, obviously that I know that I haven't connected with for years and years. And then there's some that I've gotten, I've been stuck at that step 2 really. That's been, other than people I know, for anybody that I haven't connected with for a long time, I haven't even been able to get a response out of step 2, even if I got a baby out of step,
Yeah.
Let's see. So I would suggest, that's the point where you're struggling or where you're hitting the wall. Okay,
Yep.
so that's where we need to focus. That's where you need to say, Dan, Mark, Jen, I need help with this process. I've sent this invite. And what I would probably say is when you're getting ready to send out some invites, copy and paste and send them to me. Let me read them or let's do a call and talk about them and say, okay, well, who is this person? How do you know them? Is it somebody that you just met? Is it somebody who you knew a long time ago? Because like I said, in my scripts, a lot of times it'll be, hey, Carrie, I know this is out of the blue. Hey, Carrie, how you been? Hope things are well. I know this is out of the blue, but you never know when a message out of the blue might reconnect lives. So I let them know right away. Yeah, I know this is coming out of left field. So I'm not expecting to be buddy-buddy here like we've been hanging out and all that stuff. But, and then I go into this thing, and I got it all scripted out and stuff.
Right.
Don't know, and I always go with I don't know if this is for you or not, but I'm looking for 3 to 5 people who might be interested in losing weight, getting in better shape. Maybe you could help me out. Thanks in advance for any help you could give. So they're either going to respond, no, I don't know anybody. They're going to respond, yes, I am, or they're going to ignore me. And then I'll follow up again in a few days until they stop ignoring me, until they tell me no. And sometimes I do let some slip through the cracks. I'm not perfect at following up.
Yeah, I get a lot of no responses.
That's why I'm reading this.
Keep after the no responses.
What's that?
You do keep after all of the no responses, basically.
The way that if I know somebody and they're active on social media and I've sent them a message and they're not replying, I will stay active after them, because the bottom line is people get busy. And there's no doubt that a message out of the blue from you is not their top priority. Right. As a matter of fact, they probably read it and they're like, I'll deal with it later, or I don't have time for this, or they didn't take it serious. And it's not because they don't like you or because they don't think that it's worth being serious, but it's just something that we're busy. We don't have time to deal with stuff that, like I said, and this book has opened my eyes a lot. There's so much going on in here. You have to make decisions and next actions about everything in your life, whether or not to get on this call, whether to go to the bathroom, whether to do this, do that, whether to, it's 3:30 and the kids are going to be home at 4. What do? I don't know. I don't have enough time to do this, but I got to do this and this needs done. And oh my gosh, the shower stall needs installed, but I don't have a whole day to do that. I mean, there's so many things that are going through our mind at one time. You got to get your mind empty, but most people don't do that. So you have to be sensitive and understanding to the fact that if they haven't responded to you, you are another thing on you're more stuff on their list, and you're not high on it. So
what do you say, Dan? What do you say to the person that you've done that out of the blue invite and it's been a week
and they don't respond? I usually the next one would be, hey, just checking in. I sent you a message a couple of days ago. Hope things are well. Just wanted to make sure you got it. Even though you can see that they saw it, if you send them a Facebook message or even a text, you can see that they saw it. So they checked it. So I'm on the list. I'm just not high on it yet.
Yeah, one of the most successful things that I've had success with or telling people is, I'll just say, hey, Dan, I know you're probably crazy busy like I am lately. I sent you a message last week and, about the fitness accountability group. Is that something you'd be interested in, or do you want me to take you off my list? And honestly, I think they put their guard down because you've given them an excuse. They can say, yeah, I have been crazy. So if it's been a couple days, a week or two since they've gotten back and they haven't responded, you just gave them a reason to you're telling them, I understand why you haven't responded. Even if that's not their real reason, you don't have to know that. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so
right.
That kind of lowers the fence. So now they can then respond, and everyone wants to be on a list. And if you tell somebody, I'm going to, I can take you off the list, then sometimes they'll say, yeah, go ahead, because I'm not really, I'm crazy busy, or I'm doing CrossFit right now, whatever it might be. And I'll reply and say, do you mind if I follow up with you in 2 months, or whatever time frame feels appropriate. But more often than not, I do get people that respond to those messages, and that's just, I think, because you are disarming them, you're giving them an excuse as to why they didn't get back to you so they don't feel guilty. And then, you're telling them, if right now it's not the right time, then, I can take you off my my list of people I'm reaching out to. So,
yeah, that's a great tip. I love that one, because you are giving them a reason to respond, even if it's to tell you no. At least there's action.
Carrie, some people, like, I don't always send a out of the blue message. Like, some people, I'll go to their Facebook page and, see if they posted recently that is something that I can, start a conversation with them for. Like Dan kind of said in the PS of that, those 5 steps to a better conversation. You can just reconnect with someone like from high school or a friend from work that you haven't talked to in a couple of years just by, hey man, I saw that picture of your family, just wanted to check in. How are you doing? Because sometimes the cold turkey, the cold, hey, this is out of the blue, I don't want to mention the fitness thing. I just want to reconnect with them and see how they're doing. And then you can slowly, and it's not, some people it's not always an immediate thing, but maybe if you're connecting with them over a couple weeks, then even if, I have lots of people where it's taken me 6 months or whatever, but once you message them, that put like Facebook and the affinity, and I don't pay that much attention to it, but I do know that like once you send a message to someone, whatever you've been posting on your page is now going to pop up in their news feed. So a message to someone is considered like liking a post on their page, and that's why you'll see, like, if you send someone a message, you may not have heard back from them, but they might start liking your post because now they're popping up again. I mean, I have, hundreds and hundreds of friends on Facebook, but only a small percentage of them actually see my posts.
Right.
And I'll just to back up what Beth is saying, that is something that she's amazing at it, just reconnecting with people or reaching out, keeping conversations going, and kind of rekindling old relationships. And she, for the longest time, it took her, I don't know what, probably 3 to 4 months before she really started seeing those relationships that she reached out to develop to the point where, okay, now these people were reaching out to her about the challenge groups or about fitness, exercise, because they're seeing on her wall what she's doing, and she gets comments about the family photos and just all kinds of stuff. So that's where we challenge you guys, and I gotta, I'm guilty of this too, but that's where we should challenge one another to make sure we are reaching out to 2 new people on Facebook a day. And that means just, you don't have to necessarily invite them, but just go look at all your friends and randomly scroll down the list and pick 2 or 3 people, go to those pages, see what they've been up to, find something that looks cool or that you can comment on, and then personally message them. And that way, you can start to rekindle that relationship.
Right. Cool.
Because you're right. If you just, Beth, a couple months ago when we had 200 no's in October or whatever it was, Beth didn't have a lot of people reply to her. And she told me, she said, this is not what I'm used to doing. I'm not used to just sending out these call invites.
Yeah, I mean, I was sending like 10 a day and not hearing back from anyone. And finally I told Glenn, this is not me. Like, I am not like send the random message person. I am the create a relationship. And I was just telling him the other day, because I mean, and you guys see even in like Keep It Real with Stay True or the smaller challenge groups, I interact with my customers in there. He doesn't. And I have a lot of my Success Club points each month are my customers have a good experience and then they refer people to me. So, I mean, like, it's annoying to me that it's the 3rd and I don't have any Success Club points yet, because a lot of times, I have someone right away that it's it's a referral. It's like, that's how a lot of mine are coming in. And I told Glenn, you got to be more personable. You have to, it is time consuming. And
Yeah.
you guys are good at it. Heather's great at it. Like, she gets in and I think her and I, that's why we don't like this new format for the challenge groups, because we comment on everyone. We encourage them. We just like love on them. And then it makes people feel good. And that's why, I mean, the new format is fine. You can still like their posts and everything, but it's not the same. Like, Glenn loves it because it's efficient. I'm like, oh, I can't, they don't know I'm talking directly to them unless I tag their name, or, you know, it's almost like it takes her and I probably longer to go through the posts, because it's not like there's their picture and here's our comment. So I was encouraging Glenn, like, you gotta, you know, like, love on your customers a little bit more so that they feel good, and then they bring other people in, or they just buy the next program. I mean, not all my sales are not challenge packs.
Right.
Because, you know, you can only get challenge pack, you can only get Success Club points 2 per customer. So I have a lot of people that have bought 5 programs from me. But
Speaking of that, I just got 2 points from a current customer that bought another challenge pack.
It happens.
I knew that hasn't happened on previous. Do they make a mistake once in a while, or?
They might.
Make a mistake, Carrie, or sometimes that customer will like log in and not know their password to or their email.
Oh.
So
yeah.
when they when I had like a huge month in July, 2 customers had signed up under a new email, and I was like, sweet.
Yeah, no kidding. How many emails do you have?
I think it happens.
Probably make a mistake, but they also make a mistake to your disadvantage. So you do have to track.
Yeah.
Well, and if they find out they did make a mistake, sometimes they'll correct it in the next month.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I think it also happens when like if the person has stopped their Shakeology for a few months and then buys another challenge pack later, I think it will count as Success Club points.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's usually when the mistakes happen on my end. I mean, it's still a mistake, but it seems to happen when the person has stopped their Shakeology.
like, if it gets you to 5, if you're trying to get to 5 and that got you to 5, I would still try to get 2 more.
Yeah.
I've had it happen where I've had it happen both ways, for me and against me. So
Right.
yeah, nobody's perfect, I guess. But okay, we should probably wrap this call up, because
Or at least stop the recording, because we're over an hour long, I'm sure.
All right, so I'm going to stop the recording. Thanks for getting on and reviewing or listening to the call, everybody. And thank you, Dan, for heading it up.
No problem.